This was a pretty normal night for me. I was off work for the weekend and was planning on doing absolutely nothing productive for my 2 days off. I had some snacks and drinks set up on the table by my couch, and I was watching some silly movie to pass the time. It was storming outside, and it was actually a lot worse than it usually was around here. The lightning was really loud, like it was touching ground less than a mile away. I usually find comfort in rainy weather, but this was a bit much even for my taste. What definitely wasn't comforting was when I heard something hit my front door. It was only a single thud, which made me think the wind had blown something into it. I got up and checked outside, opening the door and getting peppered by the rain and wind. Nothing was out there, though, that could have bumped into my door. I was actually so confused that I even stepped further outside to look around for anything near my porch. Not getting any answers and only getting drenched by the rain, I went back inside. Whatever it was, it seemed like it was gone. My shirt was completely soaked through, so before doing anything else, I went right upstairs and threw on a clean shirt and dried myself off with a towel. While I was up there, I heard it again, a loud thud slam into the front door. It made me jump and mumble under my breath as I was genuinely shook by it. I waited for any more sounds as I regained my cool, then moved over to the stairs and looked over the railing at the front door. My eyes widened. The door was open, rain splashing inside and everything. I quickly ran over and shut it as best I could, but the handle was all messed up. I still had no idea what happened. Honestly, I thought there was a tornado or something. Of course, I quickly realized that this was far more horrifying than I thought. The puddle that formed inside the doorway had several muddy shoe prints smeared into it and going across the floor. With the door loosely sitting in the frame, I left it and started to follow the path of mud and water through the hallway. I don't know why, but for some reason I felt like I was trapped in there with whoever was inside. I know now that I should have just run away immediately, but in the moment, I think the fear and adrenaline had me acting out of character. When I turned around the corner, which led to the family room, a pair of old soaked boots were scattered on the floor, and the shoe print I was following ended. I looked up. The lights were off in this room, and it only had a small couch and a sofa chair, which I knew they had to be hiding behind one of them. It was only then, as I stared into the pitch-black room, standing only a few feet away from an unknown person, that I realized I needed to get out of there. ASAP, I quickly got my phone from the couch in the living room and ran outside into the storm. Then I found a tree to stand under as I called 911. It took several minutes, but eventually they came. 4 officers went into my home, and a minute later they came out, dragging a man through the rain and into their car. He looked crazy. I don't know how else to describe him. His hair was long and his eyes were sunken in. What's even more disturbing was that after they locked him up in the car, I went back inside with an officer, and they said they found him hiding under the couch. So that whole time I was staring into the dark room, he was probably staring right back at me. Even worse, we found a sledgehammer behind the couch he was hiding under. He obviously used it to break in, but what else he was going to do with it is unknown. Hopefully he stays locked up for a long time. Otherwise, I'll probably be living paranoid for the rest of my life. I work for a tech company as a customer support agent on their 24/7 live chat service. Because of the nature of the job, I get to work from home. The downside, though, was that I was an overnight worker. Being in the comfort of my own home and having to pull an all-nighter was, well, a recipe for disaster. This was a regular work night. I had my plug-in open on my laptop that automatically receives new chats. I'd probably get 5 to 10 customers an hour, and each chat usually resolved within 2 minutes. So a lot of my job was just waiting. I kept a hot cup of coffee on my desk and had YouTube open on my other monitor around 2 a.m., maybe a little. Earlier, I was helping a customer figure out their refund when I heard something outside. It was a man, seemingly calling out for someone to help him. Something about it sent chills through me, as it sounded like he was right outside my house. Being in the middle of a chat, though, I couldn't get up to check who it was right away. Also, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to. I had a bad feeling. I continued to help the customer, hearing this man calling out in the background for several minutes. Once I was done, I decided to just look out the window and see what was going on. Whoever it was, though, I knew they couldn't possibly need help that bad if they were standing in the same spot for multiple minutes. I went downstairs, and after hearing them call out again, I realized they were somewhere near the back of my house. I went up to the window and peeked through the blinds. My backyard was fenced in, but standing right in the middle was some guy. He yelled again, but his body didn't move. It looked unnatural as he was standing there looking as if nothing was wrong. It was really dark, but I could tell he was wearing a hoodie and dark jeans. I figured it was probably best to just leave this guy alone. He was probably drunk or some kind of druggie. I left the window and went back upstairs. Almost as soon as I left, though, the guy stopped yelling. It kind of creeped me out, like he somehow knew I was there, but I hoped that it just meant he was leaving. A minute later, I got another customer to help. I started typing in my message, and before I could finish, extremely loud knocking suddenly came from downstairs. I could tell from the hollow plastic sound that it came from the back door. I knew it had to be that guy, which now made me nervous. What could he possibly want? Clearly, whatever it was, he wasn't going to leave without it. I quickly finished typing, then picked up my phone and reported the guy to the police. Then I went back downstairs. I looked down the hallway and immediately I could see him standing at the back door. His face was pressed into it as he stared through the door right at me. He started hitting the door again and I wasn't sure what else to do, so I kind of just stood there. After maybe 30 seconds, his face fell flat and he backed away. Then he walked through my backyard and climbed the fence. As I watched, though, thinking this was all over, I could see his figure moving through the gaps in the fence panels. And that's when I noticed several more figures moving outside the fence. Police took my account of what happened and I described the guy as best I could. I think it was a whole group plotting something. Maybe the one guy was just to get me to open the door and the rest would come after. I really don't know. I just pray this was a random attempt and not something they were specifically going after me for. If that's the case, then that might not be the last I see of them.